Every single month, millions of people hand over hundreds of dollars for something that is losing value while they sleep. They sign papers they barely read, shake hands with a salesperson who smiled the whole time, and drive off feeling good. But underneath that new car smell is a decision that will follow them for years. It does not feel like a trap, it feels like progress, it feels like they finally made it. And that is exactly why it is so dangerous, because the most expensive mistakes never look like mistakes at the start. Think about the last time you saw someone pull up in a brand new car. You probably thought they were doing well, maybe you even felt a little envious. But what you could not see was the payment attached to that car, the insurance premium that jumped, the registration fees, and the interest piling up quietly every month. You only saw the outside. And that is the problem. We have been trained to judge financial success by what people drive, not by what they own. Real wealth is not something you can see in a parking lot. It lives in account statements, not driveways. Before we go any deeper into this, I want to ask you something right now. Drop a comment below and tell me, are you currently making a car payment every month? If you are, this video is going to hit very close to home, and I want you to watch every single second of it. And if you have not subscribed yet, do it now. Every week we talk about the things most people learn too late. Hit that bell so you never miss what could change everything for you financially. The average car payment today is higher than it has ever been in history. People are borrowing more, stretching loans over longer periods, and paying interest rates that eat away at their budget month after month. What used to be a 3-year loan has become a 6 or 7-year commitment for millions of families. And at the end of that commitment, many of them trade the car in, roll the leftover debt into a new loan, and start the cycle all over again. They are not building anything. They are running on a treadmill that feels like forward motion but leads nowhere. Here is the part no one explains when you are sitting in that dealership chair. Every dollar you spend on a car payment is a dollar that cannot work for you anywhere else. It cannot go into an investment account. It cannot build an emergency fund. It cannot become the down payment on something that actually grows in value. A car does not appreciate, it depreciates. The moment you drive it off the lot, it begins losing value, and it never stops. You are paying for something that shrinks while your future waits on hold. Let us talk about something that most financial conversations skip right past. There is a hidden number attached to every car payment that most people never calculate. It is called opportunity cost, and it is the money you could have built if you had kept that payment and put it somewhere else. If you took a $300 monthly car payment and invested it instead over 10 years, you would end up with a number that would genuinely surprise you. That is not theory, that is math. And math does not care about feelings or what looks good in the driveway. The reason this is so hard to see is that we live in a culture that rewards the appearance of wealth over the reality of it. Getting a loan approval feels like an achievement. It feels like someone trusted you. It feels like you earned something. But a lender is not your friend. A lender is a business, and businesses make money when you borrow more, stay in debt longer, and pay more interest. The approval was not a reward, it was an invitation into a financial relationship that benefits them far more than it benefits you. Understanding that changes everything about how you look at borrowing money. Here is a scenario most people can relate to on a very personal level. You get a raise at work, things finally feel a little lighter, and then someone around you gets a new car, and suddenly your old one feels embarrassing. So you go to the dealership, get approved for more than you expected, and tell yourself you deserve it. Within 6 months, that raise is completely absorbed by the new payment, higher insurance, and the unexpected repair on something the warranty did not cover. You are making more money than ever, and somehow feel exactly as broke as before. What makes the car payment trap so powerful is that it compounds quietly over time. You do not feel it on day 1, you do not even feel it in month 3. But 3 years in, you are looking at your bank account wondering why nothing ever seems to add up. The car is not the only thing draining you, but it is often the first domino that makes every other financial goal harder to reach. When your fixed expenses are too high, there is no room to breathe, save, invest, or recover when life goes sideways. Now let us look at this from a completely different angle, the angle of the person who chose differently. They drove a used car they paid cash for. Nothing fancy. Nothing that turned heads. While everyone else was making payments, they were putting that same amount into a brokerage account every single month. 5 years later, they have a growing portfolio, zero car debt, and options that the payment crowd does not have. Options are the currency of real financial freedom, and you cannot buy them with a loan. This is not about being cheap. This is not about never having nice things. This is about understanding the sequence: build first, spend second. The people who rush to buy the nice things before they have built anything real end up spending their entire lives working to maintain appearances. They work harder every year, but never seem to get further ahead because everything they earn is already spoken for before they receive it. Living paycheck to paycheck is not always about income. Sometimes it is entirely about the commitments that consume that income before you can decide what to do with it. The car payment is one of the most accepted forms of financial self-sabotage in modern life. Society has normalized it so completely that people feel strange for not having one. If you tell someone you drive a paid-off older car by choice, they sometimes look at you with pity, like you could not do better. But that person driving the used car with no payment might have more invested, more saved, and more financial peace than anyone admiring the new vehicle in the parking lot. The judgment goes in the wrong direction because we have been taught to value the wrong things. Here is a truth that takes most people years to discover on their own. The dealership is not just selling you a car, it is selling you a monthly payment. They have become experts at shifting your focus from the total price to the monthly number. Does $200 more per month sound like a lot? Not in the moment. But over 5 years, that is $12,000. $12,000 that could have been yours, sitting in an account, growing, waiting to be used for something that actually builds your future. Let us talk about what a car actually costs when you add everything together honestly. Most people only think about the monthly payment, but that is never the real number. Add insurance, which goes up the moment you buy new. Add registration and taxes, add maintenance, tires, and the repairs that happen regardless. Then add the interest on the loan itself, which on a long-term note can add thousands of dollars to the price of the car before you ever finish paying. When you add all of that together, a car that felt affordable becomes one of the most expensive decisions in a person's financial life. And here is the part that makes it worse: cars depreciate fast. A brand new car can lose a significant portion of its value in the first year alone. So while you are paying interest on a loan, the thing securing that loan is worth less every single day. This is called being underwater when you owe more than the car is currently worth. Millions of people are in this situation right now, and most of them are not even aware it has happened to them. If you are in a car loan right now, the goal is not shame, the goal is strategy. The first step is to know exactly where you stand. What do you owe? What is the car worth today? If you can accelerate payments, even small amounts extra each month, you save interest and shorten the time you are locked in. If you are significantly underwater, you need to think carefully before trading in, because rolling that negative equity into a new loan just makes the problem bigger. Every decision from here forward should be pointed toward one goal: getting out and staying out. The moment you stop having a car payment is the moment your financial life gets more room to breathe. That money does not disappear, it just becomes yours to direct instead of theirs to collect. Some people use it to build an emergency fund for the first time. Some put it toward retirement. Some finally start investing. Whatever you choose, the power is back in your hands. And that shift, small as it sounds, is where real financial progress begins. The absence of a payment is a kind of freedom that is hard to describe until you have actually felt it. Here is something worth thinking about deeply. Most people's relationship with money was shaped before they were old enough to understand money. They watched the adults around them borrow for cars, borrow for furniture, borrow for everything, and that felt normal. So when it was their turn, they did the same thing. Not because it was the right choice, but because it was the familiar one. Changing a financial behavior requires first recognizing where that behavior came from. The car payment is often tied to identity in ways people do not acknowledge out loud. What you drive is how some people signal their value to the world around them. It communicates success, taste, and status, or at least the appearance of those things. But when your self-worth is financed, it is fragile. It depends on your ability to keep making payments. The moment the income dips, the status symbol becomes a source of stress rather than pride. This is why financial mindset work is not optional. It is the foundation everything else is built on. If you believe that what you drive defines you, you will always find a reason to justify the payment. But if you can separate your identity from your vehicle, you start to make decisions based on what actually serves your future. That separation is uncomfortable at first. It means letting go of something society tells you matters. But on the other side of that discomfort is clarity, and clarity is what leads to real change. Think about the next 5 years of your life for a moment. Where do you want to be financially? What does security feel like to you? What would it mean to have options? Now trace backward from that version of your life to today and ask yourself honestly whether the payment you are making right now moves you toward that vision or away from it. Most people have never done this exercise. Most people live in the financial present without ever mapping the connection between today's decisions and tomorrow's reality. That map is everything. Without it, you are just reacting to circumstances instead of designing them. The people who get this right do not necessarily earn more than everyone else. They just make different decisions with what they have, and they make those decisions with intention. They know that the path to financial stability is paved with choices that sometimes feel boring, sometimes feel slow, and almost never look impressive from the outside. But boring and slow is exactly how wealth builds. It is not a secret. It is just math, patience, and the discipline to delay satisfaction long enough to let it compound. And the car payment, small as it seems, is often the test that reveals which path someone is really on. Let us look at what happens when someone decides to break the cycle not someday but now. They sell the car with the heavy payment. They buy something reliable for cash, nothing glamorous, just functional. The payment is gone. The insurance drops. The stress tied to that monthly obligation disappears. At first it feels like a step backward. The new car is not as nice. People notice. There might even be embarrassment. But within months, that feeling fades and something else takes its place, a growing sense of control that had been missing for years. That control starts to spread into other areas of financial life. When one major payment disappears, the budget suddenly has room. Decisions feel less desperate. There is money left at the end of the month instead of a week of holding on until the next paycheck. That is when the real building begins, when there is margin, even a little, to start redirecting money towards something that will grow. Margin is not a luxury. It is the raw material of financial progress. The reinvestment phase is where things start to feel genuinely different. Taking the money that used to go to a car payment and putting it somewhere with a return, even a modest one, creates a new kind of momentum. It is not fast, it does not feel dramatic, but month after month the number grows and something psychologically shifts. You stop thinking of yourself as someone who is always behind. You start thinking of yourself as someone who is building. That identity shift is not small, it is everything, because how you see yourself financially determines what decisions you make next. Here is what the compound effect of that shift looks like over a longer timeline. Someone who frees up $300 a month at 35 and invests it consistently is looking at a number in their 60s that most people will never see. Not because they were lucky, not because they earned more, because they made one different decision and stayed consistent with it. The car payment is where many people stop that process before it ever starts choosing the payment over the future month after month for decades. But it is a choice, and choices can change. That is the most important thing to understand going forward. Now let us be honest about something that makes this conversation harder than it sounds. Not everyone is in a position to just sell their car or refuse the loan. Some people bought the car because they had no emergency fund and the old one broke down. Some bought it because they needed reliable transportation for a job. Life is not always a clean financial decision. Sometimes the choices we make are the best available to us in that moment, not the ideal ones in theory. The goal here is not to make anyone feel guilty for decisions already made. It is to help you see clearly so the next decision is better. What matters most is not where you started, it is what you do next. If you are in a loan right now, you are not stuck forever. You are in a chapter, not a conclusion. The question is what you do with the information in front of you, whether you sit with it and let it fade, or whether you let it actually change something. Small adjustments made consistently over time have a way of producing results that feel impossible when you first imagine them. That is not motivation talk. That is how compound interest and behavioral change actually work. There are specific things you can do right now, regardless of your situation. If you have a car payment, make a plan to accelerate payoff. Even $20 extra per month makes a difference in interest paid. If you are about to buy a car, slow down. Look at a used vehicle with cash. Look at the total cost over time, not just the monthly payment. If you have paid off a car, protect that moment, redirect what you were paying into something that builds instead of buying something new immediately. Every financial win has a fork in the road, the choice to build on it or to spend it. This is one of those forks, and perhaps the most powerful thing you can do right now costs nothing at all. Talk to someone in your life about this. Share this video with someone who is about to sign a loan or already trapped in one. Not to lecture them, just to open a conversation that most people never have until it is too late. Financial change rarely happens in isolation. It usually happens when one conversation plants a seed that eventually grows into a different way of thinking. You might not feel it yet, but the fact that you watched this far means the seed has already been planted in you. The version of you that makes different choices is not far away. It is one decision ahead, one moment of choosing your future over your image, your wealth over your appearance, your options over your obligations. The car you drive does not define your worth. What you do with your money quietly, consistently, without anyone watching, that is what builds a life that actually feels secure. Subscribe if you are not already here. Every single month, millions of people hand over hundreds of dollars for something that is losing value while they sleep. They sign papers they barely read, shake hands with a salesperson who smiled the whole time, and drive